Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the Imago Nutrition Podcast. I am Mark, one of your hosts. I am here with my business partner, sister-in-law, registered dietitian extraordinaire, Danielle Glesney, up in the St. Louis area. Danielle, how are things going in your neck of the woods?
Really good. Still a nice fall day.
Now, you haven't told me the story, but apparently something happened at breakfast this morning.
Oh, it was really funny, really cute. My youngest is in kindergarten, looking for numbers on things, practicing his numbers. And he goes, "Look how many calories are in this," of something I had for breakfast. And my other son, who's in second grade, goes, "That's so mommy can keep up with us."
Because calories are energy.
I know. I was like, yes, you guys are so smart.
Graham and Carter require energy to be kept up with. That's so funny. That's so funny. That's awesome. I recently had someone send me a photo. They texted me a photo of a label. I think it was like in the UK or something like that. And she was mesmerized by the fact that they don't call them calories. They call it energy. It just says energy, and then it gives them the number. And then it says the number, and it says kilocalorie, which is the actual term. So I talked about that with her too. I said, I'm not opposed to it saying calorie. I said, but they're right. Like it's very clarifying to say energy, give you a number, and then that number is technically kilocalories. It's kcal, not even calories. But Americans are lazy. We do things a little different. So, that's why we just do calories. So that's awesome. Well, so we have an important topic today. I think all the topics we cover are important, but this one in particular, we got a chance to talk ahead of time. Sometimes we compare our notes on the fly, right? And sometimes we talk through it a little bit ahead of time. We talk through it a little bit ahead of time in today's question. And so if you, the listener, if you're listening to this and you perhaps have hormone imbalances, or even if you're just wondering about the relationship between hormones and weight loss, this is definitely the episode for you. And so as a podcast, our goal is to give practical nutrition strategies to help you reach your goals and your family to flourish. And so this is really a terrific opportunity for us to tackle a growing conversation in the nutrition space and the health and wellness space in general. Is this relationship between hormones and body composition, whether that's, weight loss, weight maintenance, eating patterns, et cetera. And so terrific question today. And by the way, if you have a question, you can send that to us for consideration as a podcast episode. You can do that by going to our website, Imago Nutrition. That's IMAGO nutrition.com/podcast. Okay. So imagonutrition.com/podcast. And there's a form there where you can submit your questions, and we work through those, and we select some to be future podcast episodes. So if you wouldn't mind doing us a little favor, shoot us your burning questions over there on that form, and we will try to get to as many questions, of course, as possible. So with that, all right, Danielle, are we ready? Big breaths. Ready. All right. So we have a terrific question. I really do appreciate this question and the opportunity to speak into this area on behalf of someone. And I imagine that many more people are going to be helped just because one person was willing to ask this question. And so Renee in Florida asks this question. She says, when someone is struggling with hormonal imbalance and trying to lose weight, which is also a huge struggle, she says, what is the best way to not get frustrated when the scale just won't move? And then she goes on to say exercise and a nutrition plan given by a nutritionist and monitored by a doctor that have been, quote, tweaked several times just don't work. And so, Danielle, I'm sure the same thing happens for you. What stands out to me is just the frustration and the feeling stuck in this question, right? And so, Renee, thank you again for asking this question. And I love that you're asking. I love that you're still continuing to ask and look for help and resources. And so we really do hope that this episode is that for you, and that in a certain respect, we can free you up a bit to continue to pursue that goal. And so we know feeling stuck is frustrating, especially when you've worked with a nutritionist, when you've been working with a doctor, and you still feel like you can't make progress. Again, it just takes a lot of courage. And so we really appreciate you reaching out. We're honored to talk through this. We're humbled to hopefully be able to help you a bit. And so, Danielle, if you don't mind, what I'll do is give us a bit of an outline. I'm going to talk a little bit more up front on this topic. And then I'd love for us to combine some of our notes in terms of the strategies that are very specific to responding to Renee's question. So what I think I'll do is give us a quick outline. Generally, I think we've got about 4 parts we want to cover. The first one is just what are hormones, okay? I just want to break it down to the basics so that we understand what they are. A lot of times we hear that term. We hear people talking about its effect on their life, on many different aspects of health, and sometimes it can become a bit of a boogeyman. So what we want to do is we want to shine a light on what hormones are, the role, the responsibility that they play in the body. So we want to understand them a little bit, okay? The second general portion is what's the relationship between hormones and weight loss specifically, because that's baked into this question. Okay, so there's lots of questions about hormones, but specifically as it relates to hormones and weight loss, which is, of course, a passion of mine, of ours as a company. We help many, many people with weight loss goals. That's a good thing, by the way. It's a noble thing. As we've just seen that bringing your body into a healthy body weight decreases the risks of so many different adverse health outcomes. And so that is a noble endeavor. And so we'll talk about the relationship between hormones and weight loss. We'll also walk through a couple examples. The hormone imbalance is not necessarily specified in this question, but there are a few that we can point to as examples to show you some principles that are applied in this area. And we'll use a couple examples that I've personally seen the most often in working with weight loss clients over the years. And then fourth, but certainly not last, is we will speak to exactly what Renee is asking, which is what are some strategies to what's the best way, she said, to not get frustrated, okay, when the scale just won't move. So we're going to unpack a few things, but we are going to get to those practical strategies to not get frustrated when the scale just won't move. So before we get going, anything we should touch on, Danielle, or any thoughts before we kick this off? And I do a bit of a lecture up front before we get in.
Go for it.
I'll try to keep it not entertaining, but informative. So, all right. So let's do a little bit of groundwork here. Let's build a foundation. Number one, what are hormones? Okay, so hormones are chemical messengers that coordinate different functions in your body. Okay, so essentially these are signals that your body sends to other parts of your body to tell it what to do and when to do it. Okay, so in the simplest form, chemicals are messengers. Hormones are chemical messengers. So just remember that. So what is a hormone? A hormone is a chemical messenger. Okay, and sometimes these hormones signal to other hormones to signal to other hormones. There could be a chain effect. Sometimes it's a one-off. It's a hormone that produces an immediate response in the body in some way, shape, or form. And so what are some of these bodily processes that hormones help trigger or move? And so they control many different bodily processes. Number one is metabolism, not number one, but the first one on my list at least. So metabolism, homeostasis, which is the constant internal balance that our body is striking. And so things like blood pressure, blood sugar regulation, fluid, water retention, electrolyte balance, body temperature, et cetera, that's all part of that homeostasis box. And so within that, hormones play a key role. Growth and development, again, these are chemical messengers that are coordinating different functions related to metabolism, homeostasis, growth and development in the human body. Sexual functions, reproduction, sleep-wake cycle, mood, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so again, there's several glands that and organs and tissues that make and release these hormones, many of which make up what we know is your endocrine system. Okay, and so that's where you've heard of endocrinologists, you've heard of the endocrine system, maybe back in biology at some point. So hormones are, again, chemical messengers. They are essential for life. They are essential for health. Scientists, I looked this up, scientists have identified 50 of them, I believe, currently. This is something that next year we could find number 51. We could find number 52. There is still a lot to be learned about the human body. We are constantly growing in our knowledge of this area. And some of these hormone imbalances we know more about, some we know less about. Okay, and so that's something to keep in mind. Anyone that tells you we know it all, here's exactly what you need to do, there's no question about it, it's probably lying to you, trying to sell you something. Okay, there's a lot of knowledge that we are still accumulating about this, but suffice it to say, again, these are essential chemical messengers that our body produces. All right, so That's what hormones are. Okay. So again, we want to open up that door. We don't want them to be a boogeyman. We want to understand what they are, what they do, their importance, but we do know that they can become imbalanced, and that has significant, sometimes ramifications. Sometimes it could be minor, and keep in mind with hormones, just a little bit of offset can trigger a chain reaction of larger proportions. So these are generally things that are in very small chemical amounts. Okay. So little bits of change can throw things off for better, for worse. Okay. So the second thing I want to do is talk a little bit about just hormone relationship to weight loss. Okay. Specifically energy balance. Yes, it's my favorite topic for a reason. It's really a foundational piece because as we were talking about when Carter identified calories on the back of that food, what he was identifying was the units of energy within that food that food would bring into our system. Okay. And so again, energy balance, we just have to lay this foundational groundwork. Keep in mind that the law of conservation of energy states, stick with me, we're going to relate all this back to hormones, okay? The law of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be converted from one form of energy to another, and then I would add or stored, okay? So if it's not converted in the human body, if that energy that comes in, those calories that come in, that the body did not create, it cannot destroy. If it does not convert that to work via digestion, exercise, non-exercise activity, basal metabolic rate, et cetera, if there is an excess of energy in our body that it didn't create, it can't destroy, and it doesn't convert it to work, it will store it. So weight gain over time is the additional storage of energy. Our body fat is just quite literally stored energy, okay? And that's a good thing to a certain degree, but of course it can become an excessive thing. And so this is where I get to state very clearly that the only way the human body loses weight over time, okay, is what's called a negative energy balance, where you consume fewer calories than you expend on average over time. Yes, your weight goes up and down all day as you drink water and eat food and go to the bathroom and work out and eat food and drink water and go to the bathroom and work out, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, your body weight fluctuates a lot, but on average over time, the only way the body loses weight over time is through consuming fewer calories than you expend. And we'll come back on that. Okay. So a negative energy balance, if you're on TikTok, you'll hear everyone calling it a calorie deficit. You'll hear people that are trying to be slightly more nuanced calling it an energy deficit. We use the proper term here, which is a negative energy balance. Okay. This is not, by the way, a way to lose weight. This is the only way that the human body loses weight. Okay. This is not a theory. It's not a diet. It's not even just based off my personal experience. This is a fundamental law of thermodynamics. Okay. It is true. It's not assumed. It's not sometimes true. And so all that's to say is that when we talk about the relationship to hormones and energy balance, and I want this to be good news. I don't want this to sound like I'm trying to simplify it. We'll talk about the complexities of this. I'm not trying to oversimplify this. Though I do say that weight loss is simple, it's not easy, okay? In a sense that hormones cannot create or destroy energy. Okay, so there aren't hormones that are firing off signals to your body to create energy. Why? Because the first law of thermodynamics states we cannot create energy, okay, nor can it destroy it. So those hormones are not responsible for creating energy, and they're not responsible for destroying energy because they can't. No one can. You can't bend the first law of thermodynamics, okay? So this is actually good news. Hormones cannot create weight gain, nor can they create weight loss. They cannot cause weight gain and they cannot cause weight loss. However, they can influence other factors that then put someone into what's known as a positive energy balance, and then they gain weight over time. So we're going to talk about that. Okay. So while hormones cannot create nor destroy energy, they can't cause weight gain, they can't cause weight loss, they can influence factors that contribute to energy balance. Okay. And so, I guess I could try to describe it. Danielle, we talked about a bit of a graph that I've used with some of my clients, right? Or a picture. And so For our audio listeners, and I'll try to make a graph and put it up on our social media as well so people can see it in photo form. But I want you to imagine with me real quick, you've got a piece of paper, or maybe you actually have a piece of paper and you want to do this. What I would like to do is propose to you that there are 3 circles. So if you draw one circle on the left and one circle on the right, and then below the circle on the right, draw a 3rd circle, okay? In the circle on the top to the right, I would like you to put energy balance. In the circle below that, put weight loss. And then in that top left circle, put hormones. Then what I want you to do is, again, from that left circle, draw a line or an arrow from hormones to energy balance, or it should really be negative energy balance. Draw a line between hormones and negative energy balance. And on that line, write the word influence. Then draw a line from negative energy balance, or an arrow from negative energy balance down to weight loss. And on that line, write the word cause. Okay. And so what that means is, while there is not a line from hormones to weight loss or weight gain in this case, what it does do is it can influence your energy balance. But keep in mind that energy balance is the only way the body loses weight, gains weight, or maintains its weight. Okay. So I hope I described that well. Again, I'll put this up on graphic form in our on our social media, and I'll create something that shows that visual. But keep in mind that hormones influence energy balance, but they do not cause weight gain or weight loss. All right. So I've been talking for a long time. Anything to clarify, Danielle? Thumbs up from the dietitian extraordinaire. Okay. All right. If it makes sense, it makes sense. All right, let's do it. So let's go through a couple examples, and then I want to bring you back in. I'll finally be quiet, and we can talk about some strategies to help Renee with patience and frustration in this process with a hormone imbalance. So yes, hormones, by the way, I should state this. Yes, hormone imbalances exist. Yes, they have implications. Yes, they are frustrating. Yes, they are real. Yes, they are correlated with weight gain. Yes, they are correlated with lifestyle factors. Though they don't cause, there is absolutely correlation. Okay, so we are with you in that, Renee. We want to help you through that frustration. Okay, so don't let anyone minimize the effect of these, and don't let me nerding out on energy balance. Don't take that as me again trying to oversimplify or reduce the the frustration you have to simple math. Okay, because it's more complicated than that because we're human. Okay, so with that, let's take a few examples. So I just pulled, I think, 5 examples of the most common hormone-related, whether they're imbalances or imbalances in general, that I have come across in my nutrition coaching, over the last, I don't even want to do the math, 15 years or something like that. I think it started in 2008, whatever that is. Too many years to count at this point. So number 1 would be hypothyroidism, not hyper, but hypothyroidism, where the thyroid is not producing enough of the thyroid hormone. Okay. So real quick, we're not going to go into deep discussion about these necessarily. I just want to show you some of this correlation that exists in real life examples between this hormone and energy balance. And again, the distinguishing factor being influence versus causation. Okay, so thyroid hormones regulate a portion of the metabolism. Okay, so a hypothyroidism is not producing enough of that thyroid hormone. And so what happens is that people with hypo, I'm trying to be very clear when I say that, hypothyroidism can have a lower basal metabolic rate than those without it, or with a normal functioning thyroid. Now, what that means, a basal metabolic rate is simply how many calories does my body burn at rest. It's also known as a resting metabolic rate. Okay. So there's a certain amount of calories. By the way, this is the majority of the calories that you burn in a day. Okay. So that's significant. The majority of the calories that you burn in a day do not come from exercise. They do not come from digesting food. They do not come from going on your walks. They come from your body simply existing. Okay, and being alive. It's an engine that's always on. Okay, so you can imagine if you have a lower basal metabolic rate left untreated, okay, you can gain weight because normal calorie levels may be well above what your body is burning. Okay, so all that's to say, left untreated, a hypothyroid case, your calories may need to be quite low. You need to work on some strategies to crank up your activity or to build your basal metabolic rate. Or, of course, be treated with a doctor. We definitely recommend that as well. But suffice it to say, your calories may need to be lower than someone without hypothyroidism. But once that negative energy balance is established, the body will lose weight. It has to. Again, those hormones can't stop weight loss process, but they can influence the process. Okay. So that's one example. Another one is if someone has a low levels of leptin. Okay. This is one of the satiety hormones. And so if you have low levels of leptin, you are likely to experience more hunger. That naturally then flows from that is due to that effect on satiety or feeling full. Okay, that hormone is not sending signals to the brain saying, hey, we're full. So guess what happens? It makes it difficult to remain in that negative energy balance and lose weight over time. Why? Because you're experiencing high levels of hunger because your body is not telling your body that it's full. Okay, so low levels of leptin is another one. Another one would be insulin imbalance. Okay, people with insulin balance, okay, related to blood sugar, of course, they experience a lot of fatigue. Now, how does this cause weight gain? No, it doesn't cause it, but it can influence it, right? Due to the effect on the glucose levels and having this fatigue, it makes it difficult to be active throughout the day. Okay, so it gets difficult to keep your activity level at a rate to where you can establish a healthy negative energy balance and lose weight over time. Another one is PCOS, so polycystic ovarian syndrome, okay? Fairly common with women these days in their reproductive years, okay? So this is a condition in which the ovaries produce an abnormal amount of androgen, which is actually the male sex hormones, and they're usually present in women in just very small amounts, so there's an overproduction of that. And so many people with PCOS experience intense food cravings and issues with binge eating. I looked at some research in terms of, and by the way, there's a lot that we don't know about PCOS. I need to be upfront about that. We are still gathering a lot more intel on PCOS in terms of cause, strategies, symptoms, its effect on the body, et cetera, et cetera. This is not a place where we have it 100% figured out. You can just go read all the things you need to know about PCOS. There's still a lot that we don't know. But again, looking at some of the research, in terms of some of the symptoms and the outcomes of this hormonal imbalance, we've seen that PCOS sufferers do have intense food cravings. And so does PCOS cause weight gain? No, but it does make it difficult to remain in that negative energy balance over time because you have these intense food cravings, issues with binge eating, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And last but not least, and then I want to get to, again, some practical strategies to help Renee through that frustration is menopause. Okay, so Danielle, we've teamed up with certain clients and worked through women with menopause. We've both worked with them individually. This happens most often with women between the ages of 45 to 55, about a 10-year span. And so this is where the body just produces less estrogen and progesterone. I hope I pronounced that right. And it may affect how you carry weight, but it doesn't cause you to carry excess weight. Okay. So it can certainly, that's a big part of the genetic piece of this. So a lot of times where your body carries weight changes in menopause. So people believe that menopause causes that weight gain. Again, your body can't create energy. It cannot create that fundamentally. However, it can change where it stores that excess energy. And then what we've seen is that general aging and lifestyle factors influence energy balance at that time in life and beyond. Now, there was a fascinating study, real quick side note, it's a fascinating study done on the human metabolism over a lifetime. And so real quick, I'll summarize. This was in 2021. I did an episode on this, so you can dig back through our episodes and look for, does metabolism change with age? I think that was the title of it. But I'll summarize it like this, because the data suggests after this broad study, this amazing study, how does human metabolism change? And they accounted for different things, body composition, pregnancy, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the whole thing. Here's your whole human metabolism in one quick shot. Metabolism spikes from the day you're born till you're 1 year old. It gradually decreases from when you're 1 year old to when you're 20. And get this, it remains constant from age 20 to age 60. Okay. And ironically, that's when people start to gain a lot of weight and believe it's because their metabolism is slowing and they're getting older. The data does not bear that out. Research does not bear that out. What we know is that lifestyle changes dramatically after college. Okay. And then after the age of 60, metabolism does gradually decrease to the effect of, I think, 0.7% year over year. So it is nothing to be alarmed at, nothing to be shocked at. It does not cause weight gain. So here's the thing. So menopause generally takes place during a time when your metabolism is actually constant. Okay. However, we know that as you age, you generally start to lose muscle. This is why women, you need to be strength training. You need to be gaining and maintaining muscle. Okay. Muscle loss leads to a lower basal metabolic rate, which then makes it harder to lose and keep weight off long term. So building muscle, a lot of women have been, I think, duped into believing that that's for men. Protein is for men. The gym is for men. That's weights to be big and bulky. But there are serious ramifications for that. And so muscle loss happens with aging. It happens with fatigue. It happens with lifestyle change, less activity just over time in general. Poor nutrition, poor sleep, poor stress management. These are all things that we work through, by the way, with all of our weight loss clients, whether you're in menopause or not, is making sure that you're optimizing your nutrition, your activity, your protein, your fiber, your water, your sleep, your stress management, your strength, your cardio, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is baked into our process for many reasons, not the least of which is that that's the tried and true formula, even if you're in menopause. So all that's to say, those are the examples that I had, whether it's hypothyroidism, low levels of leptin, insulin imbalance, PCOS, menopause. These are examples that we see in our practice of very common hormone imbalances. And so, Renee, not exactly sure what your imbalance is, don't need to know right now, still love the question, but just wanted to give you a couple practical examples of how this bears out, okay? And the good news is, I'm going to bring Danielle, some of you are listening, like, this guy is still talking. Let Danielle talk. I know. So the good news is, this is the good news. All of these can be managed, overcome, and progress can be realized with the right nutrition and activity strategies. And when needed, treatment from a doctor, specifically an endocrinologist. Okay. We support that. We are not the people that are like, you just need to eat right. Don't see a doctor. Not the case. Okay. This is a very deep chemical level. And if there is an imbalance, we love when folks take their health into their own hands and not only see a doctor, but also work through the nutritional and the fitness components in a holistic way. Okay. So don't expect just a doctor to be able to fix it. Don't expect just us to be able to, quote, fix it. It's often in tandem. These strategies and treatments are put together. That gives you your best path forward. Okay. And so I'll wrap up by saying this. Hormones can complicate the weight loss process. I want to stress that. We believe that. We feel the frustration in that. Hormones can complicate the weight loss process, but they cannot stop it. Okay. They cannot bend the first law of thermodynamics. And again, that's good news. It's not a harsh word. That's good news because that frees you up, hopefully, from feeling handcuffed or stuck. Even though you may be stuck, just know that you can get unstuck. Okay. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's possible. Okay. So with that, thoughts, Danielle? Did I do an okay job?
You did great. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
if Danielle likes it, then I'm good for the day. So with that, let's get back to Renee's question, specifically the first half. And then Danielle, let's compare some notes about this. And I want to toss it to you to work through yours before I continue to blab on. Okay. So specifically, Renee asked this, when someone is struggling with hormonal imbalance and trying to lose weight. Okay. So I think we've covered that, the relationship, et cetera, but let's get to the heart of her question. What's the best way to not get frustrated when the scale just won't move? What are your thoughts?
All right. So one thing I have is to focus on what you can control. So that would be putting good whole foods in your body, enjoying movement, resting well, decreasing stress, drinking plenty of fluids. And then within that, focusing on what you can control, you want to think about with all of those things I just mentioned, there are benefits outside of weight loss for your health.
Yeah. Amen.
So there, is really good health benefits. The number on the scale doesn't mean that's your only measurement of health. Mm-hmm. So without weight loss, exercise decreases insulin resistance. It improves heart health and mental health. Without weight loss, putting good foods in your body increases vitamin and mineral intake, which can combat sickness, decreases saturated fat, sodium, added sugar, which improves heart health, and improves energy and helps you feel satisfied throughout the day. So without weight loss benefits, getting enough sleep can boost your immune system. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine says that it can actually make vaccines more effective, which is kind of important these days. Helps organs and cells rest to function well. We did an episode of intermittent fasting that was mentioned in there, that you really need your cells and organs to rejuvenate and rest. So they talked specifically about heart and mind. So your memory improves when you sleep. More sleep equals better mood. And then lastly, more sleep actually keeps you physically safe. You're twice as likely to get in a car accident with 6 to 7 hours of sleep, according to the Foundation of Traffic Safety. And then you're 4 times as likely to get in a car accident with less than 5 hours of sleep. So, those are the two things that kind of are interwoven there. So really kind of the biggest picture is focusing on what you can control and remembering that those things can make a huge difference on your health, even if you don't see that number on the scale move. And then the last point I had was really just remembering you're not alone. As Mark, mentioned, there's over 50 hormones in the body, which equals dozens of issues or medical conditions. Even with that slight imbalance, it doesn't have to be a large imbalance to cause issues. So when you know that you're not alone, I feel like that can really encourage you, like, even if you find an accountability partner that has the same kind of struggles with you, or just knowing that there's tons of people out there when choices get hard, when decisions get hard, might be a little bit easier to make the right decision, going for that walk, going to sleep earlier, making meals ahead of time, those types of decisions when I know I'm not making it doesn't feel like I'm making a difference, but I am making a difference and I'm not alone.
It's powerful. I love hearing that. And one of the things I love working too with clients is, a lot of times people come with their primary and secondary goals. Like, I want to lose weight. I want my clothes to fit better. I want to look a little better, whatever that is. And the best part is that after they've been in the process for a while, they realize the outcomes far outnumber their initial goals. And so I can't tell you how many times over the years I've had this, Mark. I have less headaches. I have more energy. My mood is better. All these things grows their list of outcomes that were way above. I need to lose some weight. I want to lose 10 pounds. Right. And so that's just one of the fun things. And I know when I'm working with clients, I know that those days are coming. But to your point, is knowing that you're making that progress, even when you don't feel like you're making that progress, is huge, because you are going to start to realize some of those outcomes again. And I love that list, because that's like, even outside of weight loss, it's such a powerful list. It's like, even if you're not losing weight, those benefits are real and realized, and they're felt. So, and controlling the controllables, as I say it, or we used to say in the military, controlling the controllables, right? That is key. And that's empowering too. That frees you up to focus your effort, not on the things you can't, of course, which sounds cliche, but it's true. It's when you focus on what you can control, you'd be shocked at the progress that you can make if you have that focus, when you put that focus into it. So yeah, I had 3 bullets as well. The first one was accept a few realities. Not that there's only a few, but accept a couple ones. Number one, the weight loss process in general, right? Assuming you have the right protocol in place, the process will likely still be harder than you think. Okay. This is a hard thing for people to realize. We've been told that this will be quick. We've been told that this will be fast. There's product systems out there that starve people and promise 20 pounds of weight loss in a month, which is atrocious, by the way. Those people should be in jail, not the clients, the people putting out those products. But we haven't been told, hey, you could expect to lose 0.5 pound to 1.5 pounds per week on average over time, which equates to maybe 4 pounds in a month. People are like, well, that's too slow. But by what standard? By a starvation standard? That might be slow, but by a health standard, that's incredible. It's terrific. It's long-term sustainable progress. So number one, the process will likely be harder than you think, and it will likely be longer than you think. That's okay. So someone comes to me and says, hey, I'd like to lose 20 pounds. How long is that going to take? And I tell them, oh, it could take 6 months. Like, well, I've got a wedding next month. It's going to take longer than you think to do this in a healthy way and to be sustainable after that. And here's another piece. So it'll be likely be harder than you think, Renee. It'll likely be longer than you think. And once you do, and we pray, we hope that you do achieve those results for the sake of your health outcomes long term, you're going to need a plan to sustain those results. Too many people drive to a number, they get to a number, and they don't know what to do when they get there. And that's why the number goes back up over time. So accept those realities. It'll likely be harder than you think, which is just it's a tough loving word, right? Look, it's harder. It's going to be harder than you think. It's going to require millions and millions and millions. I've often said making nutrition a priority is not a big decision. It's millions of little decisions. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of little decisions over time is what creates long-term sustainable habits. Not one big thing. Oh, I'm going to do that diet that, January, right? It's all the little decisions stacked up over time. It's going to take longer than you think. And once you get there, it might be harder than you think to sustain that, because a lot of people think they get to that number and then they just go back to how they were eating before, but that doesn't work. Okay. So that's the first one, is accept those realities. Number two, ensure that you have the right nutrition and activity strategies in place. Again, in concert with any treatment from an endocrinologist or your doctor, for sure. We want to always acknowledge the importance of that. But real quick, this is a standard list that we go through, or I go through with, or we go through with weight loss clients of any sort, hormone imbalance or not. So make sure you have the right nutrition and activity strategies in place. Now, don't let this list overwhelm you. Okay, we work through this with clients. We slowly stack up these bullets over time. So don't think you have to be doing all these things perfectly tomorrow or you're never going to see progress. But number one, are you building a proper energy balance? Are you building, and Danielle mentioned, nutrient-dense foods, which, by the way, have an increase in your metabolism over nutrient-deficient foods. So eating more nutrient-dense foods burns more calories than nutrient-deficient foods, okay? That's one way you can increase your metabolism with nutrition. However, establishing a healthy energy balance, are you tracking calories? Because, and again, Renee, don't take this the wrong way, but if the scale is not going down, we know why. You're not in a negative energy balance. That is the only answer. The question is not, why am I not losing weight? The answer to that is always 100% of the time, you're not in a negative energy balance. The better question is, why am I not in a negative energy balance? And what are the influences affecting that? Okay. So do you understand your energy balance? Do you have a healthy energy balance in place that's not too low, that's sustainable? Are you building in, the 4 pillars of nutrition? Are you tracking accurately to make sure that you are hitting your nutritional targets, et cetera, et cetera? Number 2, protein intake. By the way, protein changes hormones, okay? It can change hormones. It can increase satiety and decrease hunger, okay? That's in the research at a hormonal level, okay? I can show you the studies, okay? Number 2, fiber intake. Along with protein, fiber is super important for a huge host of reasons. But very practically, it helps you feel full along with protein. So having a high fiber and or high protein breakfast sets your day at a whole new tone. Is your water intake appropriate? Is your strength training, which can increase your basal metabolic rate over time? Do you have a strength training protocol? Okay. Are you doing any cardiovascular training? And don't think that you suddenly have to start running 10 miles. There's 3 general buckets of cardio. LISS, low intensity steady state, MISS, moderate intensity steady state, and HIIT, high intensity interval training. Do you always have to be doing high interval intense training? No, of course not. Going for walks is LISS, low intensity, but very important for heart health. So do you have a cardiovascular framework in place? Are you managing your stress? Are you getting quality sleep? The things that we've been referring to. So again, first, accept the realities of the process. Number 2, just ensure that you have the right nutrition strategies and activity strategies in place. And third, focus on things like, number 1, staying focused. Now, I don't mean that to be cheeky, but what you focus on, you win at. Okay. So what I tell people is, nutrition.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Keep the main things the main thing. Now, does this mean, well, I don't go to work because I'm on a nutrition plan? No, of course not. Oh, I can't be a dad this week. Why? Because I'm working on my training. No, of course not. We're not saying it has to be the ultimate priority, but we are saying it likely needs to rise in your priority list and you need to be focused on it. What you focus on you win at. Okay. And that's not just Monday through Wednesday night. And then Thursday is kind of the weekend. And by Friday, we're throwing it all aside. Then we do our weekend thing and we come back on Monday and beat ourselves up. And now we need to go back on a diet and restrict our calories, right? That's a vicious cycle. Are you staying focused the majority of the time? Because what you focus on, you win at. Okay. Building long-term sustainable habits. This means not over restricting your calories. Don't go too low because that causes binging. That causes excessive eating later. And don't over-exercise. Don't think that you suddenly have to crash your calories low and crank up your exercise super high. That's a miserable existence, by the way, okay? I was a wrestler in high school, and I was an idiot. That's exactly what we did, is we crashed our calories low, and then we had wrestling practice and strength training, et cetera. It was miserable, right? Because we were just low calories, high exercise, absolutely miserable. And adults do that all the time. They see wrestlers doing it, like, those guys are idiots. We do it all the time, okay? And so making sure you strike that healthy balance. Practicing perseverance. This means getting back on plan, getting back on your focus, even when you've fallen off. I saw one of the guys that I respect in the space recently put out, I'll butcher his quote, but he said, it's essentially to the effect, there's nothing special about people that maintain their results over time. They simply purpose to get back on track when they fall off. That's it. You're listening to our podcast. Do Danielle and I ever, quote unquote, fall off our track, our plan? Yeah, sure. By the way, our plans are a lot more flexible than you may think, right? In terms of long term, but that's kind of the point. And when I do, quote, fall off, what do I do the next day? Get right back on plan. Okay. That's perseverance. Remembering that you've got to deploy patience. This takes time. Back to, again, some of those realities you have to accept. Knowing that consistency is key. Sometimes I say that 80% consistency consistently is better than 100% consistency inconsistently. Okay, so being 80% consistent consistently year after year after year, and yes, you should be thinking in years, not weeks or months. That's why I'm 41 going on 42 and have maintained my results, because I'm 80%-ish consistent decade in and decade out. There's nothing special about me. I don't have an abnormally high basal metabolic rate. I stay active. I eat good food. I still enjoy fun foods. I still enjoy the holidays, right? It's November 2022. I'm going to have everything, all the foods you're going to eat, whoever's listening, chances are I'm going to eat it at some point this month, okay? Not that guy, but I'm just going to do some other things a little differently, okay? So there's more flexibility, but consistency is the key. Also talk about focusing on discipline, not motivation. I know discipline sounds like such a hard word. Oh, you're just a military guy, you love discipline. But motivation is fleeting. And the cool thing is the uncool thing is when you focus on motivation, discipline does not always follow. But if you focus on discipline, you'd be shocked how often motivation follows. And so staying focused on discipline, look, I work out. Yeah, I strength train 5-6 days a week. I play soccer. Do I always feel like strength training? I don't. I wish I did. But I go in there and I do it, and I get motivated because that discipline brings forth that motivation, not the other way around. Okay. So focus on discipline as opposed to motivation. If you focus on motivation, discipline won't always follow. If you focus on discipline, you'd be surprised how often motivation follows, and you start to build those long-term. And then back to your point, couldn't have summarized it any better than you did, Danielle. I love that our notes ended the same way, which is have the right support around you. Okay. And that includes doctor that is with you and for your results and for your health. That is family that is with you and for your results. That is friends that are with you and they are for your results. And if you need a coach, if we can help be with you and be for you to put those strategies in place to get you unstuck, to help get you toward a healthier you, we would love to be that coach, that support system on the nutrition and activity side of things to get you to where you want to go. And so with that, that's the end of our notes. And they were hefty because this was such a great question. Again, Renee, thank you for asking the question. Renee, you might not ever meet these people, but I suspect your question helped a lot more people. I hope it helped you. But I think the benefit of asking this question in a forum like this is that your question allows us to help more people that might be in the same spot. So with that, Danielle, any concluding thoughts as we wrap this one up? It's been a longer one. We're coming up on 45 minutes, but I think it's important. And I hope we were able to help a lot of people.
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, if this has been helpful, do us a favor, subscribe to the podcast so you get notified of future episodes. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing, whether it's this episode or any other episode that you've left. or listen to, be sure to let us know and share with a friend. If you've got someone that is struggling with hormone imbalance or curious about this relationship between hormones and their weight loss goals, do us a favor and send them this episode. Again, it would be our honor. The reason we do this for free is so that we can help as many people as possible. And so if you're on social media, again, I referenced, I'll try to get a graphic together about those 3 circles. So hopefully I can show you what I was trying to explain earlier in the episode. Follow us across any of the platforms that you're on at Imago Nutrition. That's IMAGO Nutrition, at Imago Nutrition on your favorite social media platform. And as always, we would like to thank Happy Pill for our theme song, Thinkin Bout Food.